Early retirement money fears are overblown. What if the next recession smashes right into your retirement portfolio the minute that you retire? What if you have kids you didn't plan on having? What if you spend more than you thought you were going to spend? Whether you're 25 and retiring or 55 and retiring, you're going to have some concerns coming into your early retirement about whether or not your portfolio is going to last. Will your money run out? Will you have enough money to make it through the long retirement you have ahead? This video is going to talk about some of the reasons why I think your portfolio will last. You will not run out of money. And this is based on my own experience over the last 2 years and almost 2 months now that I have been early retired, and speaking with a plethora of individuals who are also early retired. So walking through a lot of their specific stories and then crunching some data as well to determine, do people actually run out of money in their retirement? So stay tuned about what the analysis has to say. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning into this video where we talk a lot about personal finance, early retirement, and real estate investing. Please like this video, jump in the comments. The community is everything to me. I'd love to interact with you. I respond very quick to my comments. If you jump a comment on a video, within a couple of hours, I almost always have responded to that comment. So I really appreciate you jumping in there. Please like, share this video on social media, and subscribe to the channel, and hit that little notification bell to be notified when I drop new videos. That would mean a lot to me. Okay, so let's talk at the high level. You're worried about your money running out. Everyone who retires thinks, what if I spend more than I thought I was going to spend? What if the market crashes? What if? And all these what ifs, these fears, these money fears keep us from enjoying our lives. They keep us from pulling the trigger on our early retirements. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had people jump in the comments of my videos and say, hey, I've got $2 million, but I can't retire. I've got $3 million, but I can't retire because they think that they need 10. They think that they need more than they actually do need. And your money will last, even if you're retiring on $500,000. You can survive with a frugal retirement that will allow you to actually do better than you thought you would. So here's why. The first item I want to talk about is basically, if you look at all the data, what you find is that people build these budgets in their mind. They think in their retirement they're going to need to spend on average $50,000 to $60,000 for a couple. But in reality, people spend around 10 to 20% less. And in my own experience, I spent around 30% less to 35% less than I planned I would spend in my early retirement. I didn't travel near as much as I thought I would. I didn't need to spend on a lot of the things that I thought I might need to spend on. Because I was so conservative in my early retirement planning, I thought I might spend a little bit more on eating out. I thought I might spend on more trips, on maybe a nicer car, a bigger house, and I didn't do those things. And in fact, what I found is when I had more time, I was able to find more frugal ways to get things for less. And the second point really was that you kind of start earning a bit more money too. It's weird. You think you retire and that all income stops, but that just simply isn't the case. Almost every person I've talked to who's been able to reach the point of early retirement, including myself, they started side hustles. They followed their passions, and where there was passion and where there was energy, the money followed. Not because they were trying to make the money, but because out of doing what they loved, they created value for the world, and the world sends value for value. So the world compensated them for the things they were doing. Real estate is another example where I helped some friends buy some rental properties, and now I have this big company with 50 properties, and we continue to buy a property a week because I was trying to help some friends reach early retirement. I helped them find good deals on properties, and because I was providing this value, buying properties that were 80 cents on the dollar, they said, Mike, why don't you come in for a third of the value or half of the value, and you can coordinate all the trades and add some value that way. And as I added value, as I brought people properties under market value, helped them finance the properties, helped them get them rented out, helped them renovate those properties, and create value and basically flip these properties around. When I made money for my friends who were looking to do this, I made some money too, and a whole bunch of it, like way more money than I was expecting to make from this. As an example, you will pick up a side hustle. There are tons of things you can do. Maybe you love photography, and all of a sudden your friend says, hey, can you come shoot my aunt's bar mitzvah for her son? Or maybe come shoot this wedding of a friend of ours. Or maybe you meet a friend who's doing some YouTube videos and they need some social media help. You never know. Whatever it is, maybe you like to drive for a living. You pick up Uber. There's a side hustle you didn't plan for. And as soon as you have that extra income coming in, your portfolio lasts way longer. If we look at the data like the video I did on the secret to early retiring, the 4% rule, 4% rule is all about being able to withdraw 4% from our portfolio in infinity. If you bring in any other sources of income over your 30, 40, 50-year retirement, the 4% safe withdrawal rate becomes almost 100% certainty. And because every single person that I know who's early retired in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all of them have earned some sort of income. And in fact, most of them earned a good percentage more than they actually needed to live. Most of the early retirees that I know put in part-time hours and still made enough to cover all their living expenses and didn't even need to draw down their portfolio. But let's just say that you did, more likely than not, your portfolio will last if it is diversified properly. So that's something to kind of think of and take some comfort in. If you're there, if you're close to pulling the trigger at early retirement, I want this video to tell you that, you know what, the money fears that you have about your money not lasting, they're overblown. And you don't need to worry. You're actually going to be just fine. It's in fact the people that are, some of the people that are in the financial institutions, that are selling mutual funds, that are selling insurance, that are stuck in the government working 9-to-5 jobs, these people that don't see their path to early retirement, it's those naysayers or those people who are profiting, those profiteers from those products that they're selling, right? They're the ones who don't want you to early retire, and so they're going to throw a bunch of data in your face that tells you you can't do it. And I'm here to say, I'm the guy who's advocating in the corner saying, FIRE is great, early retirement is awesome, and you can do what you want to do with your life. You can enjoy your life, and at the end of the day, your early retirement is going to be a great one, and you're going to find a way, by being adaptable and flexible, you're going to find a way to probably spend less than you thought you would and earn some side income. The big thing is, you know, this whole time you're working towards early retirement, you likely were saving 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of your income, maybe even more. I was saving over 75% of our income and packing that away into savings accounts and then investing that smartly. When you retired, you no longer need to save. So I was used to saving 75% of everything I earned, and I no longer need to do that. That makes it a lot easier. Your budget goes a lot further when you no longer need to save. You already have all the money that you need for the rest of your life. That's the beauty of early retirement. Next, obviously, lower tax bracket. This is a huge one. I should have led with this in the beginning because I can't tell you guys how many times in the comments I have people come in and say, that's impossible because of taxes. Mike, you didn't factor in my tax rate. Well, let's talk about the tax rate. I'm here in Canada, but it's very similar in other places like in the United States where early retirees tend to pay almost no tax. That's the truth. I know many early retirees that have lots of assets, millions in assets, including myself, who pay very little tax. There's a strategy here in Canada where you buy eligible Canadian dividends from companies that provide dividends, and because the companies already pay tax, those dividends are net of tax, you get a tax credit such that you can basically collect $50,000 a year of dividend income per person and completely tax-free. Zero tax here in Canada. So I could collect $50,000, my wife could collect $50,000, we have $100,000 a year of passive income coming in from Canadian eligible dividends from Canadian companies, and we pay no tax, zero tax. When you have zero tax, that's huge. To go from in the working world paying potentially 30, 40, 50% average tax rates to paying almost no tax, that's huge. Imagine if you could live on $50,000 a year as a couple, and let's say you collected active income, from rental properties or whatever, and let's assume you didn't have good write-offs on your rental properties, which you probably will, but let's just say you didn't, and you brought in, $24,000 for the husband, $24,000 for the wife, or, if you're a same-sex couple, same thing. But $24,000 per person in the relationship, that's $48,000 in income. I ran it through a tax calculator of regular active income. The tax rate was like 11%. So you're paying almost no tax. And if you use some smart strategic write-offs, you can basically pay no tax. The key here is the Canadian eligible dividends. So it's eligible dividends already been taxed at the corporate rate, at 15, 20%. And so you get a gross up tax credit on the personal side on that dividend that basically negates any tax you have to pay, which is a huge win. It's the Canadian government begging you to invest in Canadian companies and collect some of those Canadian eligible dividends. So it is actually a great thing. And the United States has very similar programs in place. A lot of early retirees that I follow there in that space, in my own FIRE community, they're paying very little tax. A lot of them bringing in, as a couple, $50,000, $60,000 and paying $5,000 in tax. So on $60,000 brought in, they're having like $55,000 net. With that lower tax bracket, that's a huge, huge boon to your overall money strategy, your early retirement lasting. So those money fears are not as overblown as people think they are. That's a big one. The next thing you're gonna find out is that if you pick up those side hustles, right, and you start doing those things that you love, the point I wanna make is that it's adaptable. If you're adaptable, and you find out that let's say we go into a recession. Let's plan through that worst case scenario. We hit a recession. You just don't draw down your principal. If you never draw down the principal that you've saved, you only ever withdraw gains, you will never run out of money. So that's the rule of thumb I had going into early retirement. I will never touch the principal. If there is a bad year, I will find a way to live off emergency savings. So my personal strategy involves rental properties as well. I replace bonds in my asset allocation with real estate. I think real estate performs a lot like a bond, and my real estate portfolio levered up, I put 20% down, so it's 5-to-1 leverage. My real estate portfolio generates about 25% rate of return. That's way better than bonds, and it's fairly safe Canadian real estate in London, Ontario, single family duplex type properties that also appreciate, but I don't count on appreciation. I assume the market will always be flat. I assume we could go into a recession. So I just rely on the rental income profit. And so I use that as my bonds in my portfolio, and I live just on that. So any equity gains that I have, any appreciation of my real estate portfolio, any stock gains, that's all gravy. And so that's basically where I build my portfolio around. If you had a pure real estate portfolio, you can withdraw 6, 7, 8, 9%. I've seen people do a 9% safe withdrawal rate and not deplete their principal ever. And in fact, watch their net worths climb 5 and 10% a year, even despite withdrawing that much, because real estate is so basically profitable if you're buying the right types of properties. That's the key thing here is you got to be buying 1% real properties that are, rent for $3,000 a month for basically a $300,000 property. Ideally a little bit better than that. Even still. So that's sort of the metric you could use. The next one you want to think about is that most people retire without fully optimized portfolios. So you might have like $100,000 in cash you weren't planning, you kind of threw in there, but it isn't invested that well. You might have in your rental property, it might be 40%, 50% paid off. You can always take some of that capital out of your property, borrow it, and buy another rental property and better allocate that asset. A lot of people have portfolios that are 60% bonds, 40% equities. That's a very poor asset allocation for a 4% safe withdrawal rate. You're better with like a 90 equity, 10% bonds type of portfolio. So my point here is you could re-optimize your portfolio even a little bit. You could be a little bit more efficient with how you allocate your capital, the money that you've saved up, and put it to better work. So maybe you got it right now in a treasury at 2%. A lot of early retirees I talk to have money in bonds and treasuries. They could easily reallocate that. They could loan that money through peer-to-peer lending, or they could go put a first mortgage on a rental property, and people will pay 10, 12, 14% secured against the property. And if they default, you take the property and there's still 30% equity upside and sell that property, right, to recuperate your investment. So that's a relatively safe way to get 10, 12% rates of return. My point was people aren't optimizing their portfolios. Most people get a way lower return than they could if they just optimized. So if you're retiring right now and you got a bunch of mutual funds, you're paying 2.5% management expense ratio fees on your mutual funds, which most people are in Canada if you have mutual funds. You could just simply optimize your portfolio, get rid of your mutual funds, and buy ETFs. And right there you have an extra 2% on your whole net worth. If you had $1 million saved up, that's an extra 20 grand a year in passive income forever. That's one little thing, one little tweak you can make to make your money last, because data suggests people don't spend near as much as they think they do, and they almost always continue to earn income from some source. They have years of experience in whatever they did to get from where they were to where they are now. And that takes a lot of skill, takes a lot of energy, and I think all that energy doesn't just go away the minute that you retire, right? It's not like it's just gone, you have no skills. You still have skills, and if you just lower your price a bit, you'd find that there will be demand for whatever it is that you did. Whether you were an engineer, whether you were an accountant, whether you were a camera guy, whether you were a contractor, you could still pick up some side work on the weekend. I should do a video on 50 side hustles you could pick up without any experience, from everything from Uber Eats to driving Uber. You can go on Kijiji and resell things. That's a big one. That's an easy way to make $50 a day, right? The easy little things like that. You can start a YouTube channel if you wanted to, and just mess around with those things. There are lots of ways, because you have that huge buffer of wealth that you've built up in your early retirement portfolio. There's so many ways you can just basically plan ahead. And I wanted to end this video with the age-old saying, those who fail to plan to fail. And I truly do believe that the number one indicator of success in your early retirement is your ability to think ahead and plan. So have a plan A, have a plan B, sit down and think about what might happen if X happened. What might happen if Y happened? How would I respond to that situation? And just by going through that mental exercise, if something like that does happen, you're way more prepared. The data suggests you'll be 3 times more likely to succeed through a situation when you've thought through the downsides of that. So that's why I say, guys, it's a really good idea to have a budget, really good idea to plan through your future budgets and think through how things might change. What are you going to be doing? Because this real secret to having a good early retirement is finding out what you're going to do with your time. So find that thing you want to pursue, that passion. For me, it was helping people with personal finance and real estate. And I do that and I love it. And I make some money, a lot of money through those means, but it wasn't necessarily the primary intention. And that's the key thing, is in early retirement, you want to follow your passion. You want to do whatever it is that you love. That will be what allows you to basically be super successful. And if you've made it this far, I say this to everyone who makes it, if they've saved $500,000 or 200,000 or $1 million bucks, if you've made it this far, I know you have the skills, I know you have the work ethic to get the rest of the journey. So if you've made it this far early retirement, you're going to be just fine. And I want to end this with sort of more of a joke one, but my last sort of thought was, you have a lot of safety nets, more than you think. Let's just say everything did go south. You always have family, you always have a family member's couch. You've always got friends you can lean on in those tough times. And if you're in Canada, pretty much any developed nation, you've always got the government as a social net. You got insurance, things like that. The government will provide you Pogie, right? At the end of the day, you could go collect. Here in Canada, it's called, in my province, it's called Ontario Works. You get free money from the government. There are other programs like unemployment programs and disability programs. And basically, when you reach retirement age, if the program is still funded, there are tons of old age security type programs that'll pay for you if you can just make it to like 60 or 65, then you can collect from those and be just fine. So worst case scenario, even if you had to draw down some of your principal, which I don't think you'd have to do, there are so many layers of safety net. And the beautiful thing about it is you can enjoy your life today. Don't put off your early retirement. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think. Are the money fears overblown? Will your early retirement portfolio last? What do you think about the 4% safe withdrawal rate? If you don't know, go check out that video. I'm going to put a link to it at the end of this, up at the top right. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, the 4% safe withdrawal rate and some of the data around it. What do you guys think? I want to hear about it in the comments. And as always, if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Please give it a like and a subscribe. And if you're already subscribed to my channel, hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I drop new videos. It means a lot to me when you jump in the comments. I really, really appreciate it when I see you guys in the comments interacting with me and with each other. It's a community. Financial independence, retire early, is honestly, it's the thing that makes it so great is that we're all supporting each other through this. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to help you succeed, is having that community. You know the catchphrase that I use at the end of every one of my videos now, 150 videos. The key to unlocking a wealthier you is to spend less, earn more, and maximize returns. Thanks, guys.